Armand Mondo
Mm-hmm.
Duplantis.
Yep. But you can call me Mondo.
Mondo.
I go by Mondo, yeah.
Okay, we've got speed. Just hang on a minute.
Okay. And your girlfriend is Desiree? Did I
Yes,
say it
Desiree.
correct?
Yeah,
I said
perfect.
it. Desiree Englander.
Mm-hmm.
I said it correct, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good enough, yeah.
Stand by.
Okay. 5, 4, 3.
Hey everyone, I am super excited to bring you Mondo Duplantis. For those of you who watch the Olympics, you know this is a gold medalist who set and broke several of his own records, arguably the world's greatest pole vaulter and a beloved Louisiana son. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, so first of all, a big congrats to your Olympic gold medal wins and the fact that you broke your own records as a pole vaulter. Were you anticipating that to happen?
Yes, I was.
You were?
Well, it wasn't my first Olympics. I was at the Tokyo Olympics, but it was a completely different experience because, you know, the pandemic and everything, and so we weren't able to have spectators. I didn't have any of my family there and whatnot. And then also, like, for a track and field athlete, it's really your only opportunity that you have to make like a global impact and do something that's a lot bigger than your sport. It's like really like the only stage that we have, I guess, in a way. So I knew that it was like now or never. This is the time I have to do it if I'm going to do something really special. And so I'd never been more locked into my life than the year pretty much prior to the games this past summer. And yeah, no, I had all the confidence in the world that I was going to do what I did. The whole time I was going in there, I wasn't focused on the gold really. I was just focused on breaking the world record. That was like always the number one goal for me. Of course, you have to take it step by step and you have to get the gold first, but it was always world record, yeah.
So you brought up an interesting point. The Tokyo Olympics was a completely different experience. Now, did you compete with the U.S. in the Tokyo Olympics?
Sweden.
Sweden as well. So a lot of people are wondering, why did you choose to compete on behalf of Sweden as opposed to the United States? And I know your mother is from Sweden, but you were born and raised, and your collegiate athletic career has been here in the States, in particular Louisiana. So
yeah, no, it's a fair question. I'm a Lafayette native, born and raised, and really my time that I would spend in Sweden was really just the summers in between school, basically. But for the most part, I definitely spent the majority of my life here in Louisiana. But, you know, I think what it really came down to, I made the decision back in 2015 when I was 15 years old or so. And I never really looked back from it, I guess. The opportunities are very slim here. I mean, especially, I mean, in the United States as a whole, but also in Louisiana, it was very tough for me growing up as far as finding competitions and whatnot. I mean, you know, picture yourself as an 8-year-old trying to find pole vaulting competitions here in Louisiana. It wasn't really anything that was possible, honestly. And so in the summers we would go to Sweden for a month or so, and we'd have a string of competitions that I would be able to do because the track and field culture is a lot bigger there in Sweden, where my mother's from. And so I think that played quite a big role, honestly. And then also, I guess, like the opportunities as far as a professional athlete. I mean, there is no professional competitions for a track and field athlete pretty much in the United States. There's actually one real competition that's on like the Diamond League tour. That's our like main tour that we compete on. And there's one competition that's in Eugene, Oregon. But other than that, there's 0 competitions in the United States also. So I mostly compete like 95% of the time around Europe. So it made a lot more sense for me also to be in Sweden during the season and whatnot, and to base there also. And, you know, so I think a lot of those things came together and just made a lot more sense for me. And you know, I always loved Sweden. I always loved that side of my mother's side and everything like that. And you know, I think it just worked out kind of in that way. And I just kind of had to do what was best for me, my family, and what I thought was the best for me to achieve what I knew that I was capable of, which is to be the best poet in the world and compete at the highest level all the time. So.
Well,
Simple enough. As simple as I can make it is kind of like that, yeah.
Well, as a bonus and perhaps an unintended consequence of your Olympic gold medal wins, you've definitely brought a lot of global attention to the sport of pole vaulting and perhaps engendered more enthusiasm, respect, and support here in the United States. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I guess a little bit. I mean, I love pole vaulting, and I'm a pole vaulter, and I want to promote the sport as best as I can, of course. And I mean, I guess if we're being completely honest, the only time that anybody in the United States will ever care is when it's the Olympic time, and that's just the reality of the situation. If you're a track and field athlete in the United States, I mean, nothing really happens as far as track and field in everybody else's eyes here, other than the Olympics, and that's the real time that you have to showcase what you can do and make a real impact. And yeah, that kind of course fed into it. But of course, since I was one of the top performers of this past Olympic Games, and of course it made a lot bigger splash than what it usually does, my normal performances. And so I think that that's a really amazing thing. And I've got a lot of great support from people from all over the world, especially here back in Louisiana. And I'm really appreciative of that. And you know, I think it's amazing because of course it is a bit of a niche sport, but if I can bring it to the spotlight as much as I can, then that's only a good thing.
So what you have done is not only win those gold medals, you've broken your own records, and also perhaps inspired future pole vaulters. Have you thought about that?
I don't really think about it that much, honestly. But I think that's a good thing if I have.
Yeah.
Because I really love pole vaulting, and I think that it is a very beautifully complex sport, super challenging, but also super amazing in so many ways. I think it's just this amazing art form of an event with so many complexities really to it. And I hope that I can inspire people to try it and give it a shot because I think it really is just a wonderful, wonderful sport.
So as a child growing up in Lafayette, Louisiana, as you said, there weren't a lot of pole vaulting competitions or avenues for you to practice your sport. What drew you to that sport as opposed to soccer or football or baseball or something more mainstream?
Well, I did all the sports, really. I mean, I played a lot of baseball. My brother was a great baseball player, captain of the LSWI team, drafted by the New York Mets, the whole thing. And so I did a lot of baseball, played a lot of soccer, but my father was a pole vaulter. He built the entire setup in the backyard, and which is like kind of the way that it has to happen, I guess, in a way. If you want to get into pole vaulting at an early age, you have to have like that kind of in. And so, father, he was a professional pole vaulter. He toured around Europe back in his day, and then he built the whole setup, and he's been my coach. It's a family operation, just my mother and my father, who are the coaches and the training program and whatnot, and it's still that since I was 3 years old to now.
So you currently live in Baton Rouge, and you live in Sweden as well, so you split your time back and forth.
It's like the same place.
Do you have plans to remain in Louisiana and stay connected? And if so, what are those plans as they relate to your ties to Louisiana?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm always going to be in Louisiana to some extent. I mean, I think I can't live without it. I mean, it's always going to have that home feeling to me. And so I love my time being able to come back here to Baton Rouge. I spend the entire falls here, I spend the spring here too. I mean, as far as the future, I don't really know what's going to happen. It just depends on how everything happens in my career and pole vaulting and when I stop and what I'm going to do after pole vaulting, which I don't know what I'm going to do really. I don't really care to think about it almost, but it's going to be hard for me not to have at least a place here, and I'm always going to find myself back here. And definitely in the fall when it's college football season, during the LSU season, because I think there's nothing in the world that's better than that. And so I'm always here in the fall to make sure to catch a few games.
So what's taking your time and attention these days? What are you doing? What are you doing, Mondo?
A lot of stuff. I don't know. I feel like I do a lot of stuff. I mean, of course, it's quite hectic after the Olympics in a really good and positive way, but it's just a lot of things that come in because I was fortunate enough to do something very special at the Olympics, and which made a big impact, and it kind of blew up in a way. And so there's a lot of cool opportunities coming in that I have to kind of juggle and see what is right for me and what's best for my career and just myself. I just got engaged.
Congratulations
thank
are in
you.
order, by the way.
Thank
so
you.
Desiree Englander.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
so I understand you dated for several years and popped the question in a big way, like surprised her on a Vogue Scandinavia photo shoot. Wow.
Yeah.
Well played, my
Thanks.
friend.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, I wanted it to be a surprise, and I knew that I felt like she doesn't think I'm very good of a planner, which I'm probably not, actually. But I thought that it would be a really good way to show that, I don't know, some type of sacrifice and commitment to where the most hectic time of my life, which is right after the Olympics, to where plan something as huge as an engagement. And so, yeah, it was a lot. It was very complicated. I had to try to get both of her family from Sweden in town to New York, and then also my family here to try to all meet up. And so it was a lot of logistics and whatnot, and more planning than I've probably ever had to do for anything in my life. But it worked out, and it was amazing, and definitely worth it. So.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but it's some of that's like, I don't know. It feels. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if you're if you're married or whatnot. But it's like you think you're pretty confident that it's going to work out and you're going to get the yes and whatnot. But it's something. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I think anybody that's proposed, they know.
It's a life commitment. This is a life-changing thing. So just the idea that you're changing your life forever is momentous,
Yeah, and I don't even know if that's like necessarily what you're thinking about in the moment. I don't know if you're thinking about it like that big in the grand scheme of things. You just become like nervous because it's also kind of like almost there's something like you lose the control a little bit because you're
very
asking,
vulnerable.
It's very vulnerable. I think
Yes.
that's really the main thing. Is like it's like the most vulnerable you can
Yeah.
ever be, and you're asking somebody to take
That's
your
right.
hand for a lifetime, and so which is beautiful and really special, and so I can't.
Do you have a date set?
No, haven't. There's still some logistics we have to figure out because it was a surprise, and it wasn't like it was one of these things to where she knew it was going to happen and we already planned the wedding before I even engaged or anything. That it was a real surprise.
Yeah.
Because also the culture is quite different in Sweden. Even though we've been dating for 4 years and whatnot, lived together for 3 years, she still wasn't like really expecting it that much because she's from Stockholm, she's from the city, and it's not the same culture as here down south where people will get engaged and get married quite a bit earlier. So no, we'll see. There's 2 different options. We have Sweden, we have Louisiana, whichever one we do. I think no matter what we do, we'll always have probably have to do maybe a little bit of both in some way,
Right.
whether it's a party or the actual ceremony and whatnot. But we're still figuring out when to do it. And also when is the main thing too.
Well, you got to call us when this wedding is planned,
Sure.
especially for the Louisiana.
Yeah, sure.
So I want to talk to you about what's next for you. I know, as you said, you have a lot of opportunities coming in. I can't even imagine. Will you continue to compete in the sport of pole vaulting? Do you plan to compete in the next Olympics? Do you want to coach? Give me a sense of what you're going to do with this sport.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see. Of course, next Olympics easily. That shouldn't be a problem. Probably the next even 2, I guess. As far as just the way that I'm jumping right now and the level that I'm jumping at compared to all the other guys, I think that I should be able to stay on the top for a little while. I would think so. I think that that's just where I'm at. And so as far as LA, I think that shouldn't be much of a problem. Even 2032 maybe should be fine. But I don't know. I don't think that far into the future, honestly. I feel like I live in the present. I try to enjoy as much as I can what I'm doing now. I know that being an athlete goes super quick. I've been jumping professionally since 2019, and which is like weird to think about because it's like 5 years just goes so fast. And so I'm just trying to enjoy it as much as I can because I know how quickly it goes, and try almost in a funny way not to think about the future too much because then I think I'm going to lose what I have right now in the moment. Trying to absorb everything that happened this past summer, trying to just soak in how amazing it was really to be able to win the Olympics, win it twice, break the world record at the Olympics, like my biggest childhood dream ever, and I was able to accomplish like all of that. I had all my family there and everything. So, but definitely still motivated, still have a lot of fire, still want to keep jumping, and I think that I have a lot left in me. So, for the foreseeable future, I'll definitely still be jumping. Yeah.
So before we go, I have a question that is on the minds of many athletes watching our interview, especially now that regulations have loosened up with NIL deals, name, image, likeness at the college level. Are you fielding those offers? And if so, what are your thoughts on those opportunities for athletes?
Yeah, well, I'm not in college anymore, so it doesn't really pertain to me so much. So, I mean, I have like
I'm sorry, I
my
meant
own
endorsements for
I get what you mean.
but and your thoughts on NIL
Sure.
because you competed at at LSU back at a time when that was not an option for you. So it's really a two-part question.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I guess the NIL thing is like, I'm in two minds a bit about it because in one way, I mean, I definitely think that the athletes deserve to get the money that they can make. And I mean, if they can, use their image to make money and create a brand for themselves, I think that's a great thing. And I think that it was time for that to happen. But also in this funny way, I'm glad that when I was in college that I didn't have the NIL in a way, because I think that there was something that was so fun about being in college also, when you were just with the college and there was no other things to have to worry about also outside. Because I know what I have to juggle now as far as career and sponsorships and what to do and how to juggle everything. And I can't imagine having to have done that in college also as well. So I'm like grateful that I didn't have to deal with that in a way, even though maybe like passed up on some money in a way, especially probably my brother also as well. But I think that it was just like for lack of a better, just fun. College was so fun when I didn't have to, like, not having to worry about those things. But I think that it makes sense that they're able to, I mean, as far as like that, I feel like it was a long time coming that something was going to change in that regard. So I think that it is a good thing for them. I don't really know all like the intricacies and like everything about NIL, if I'm being completely honest. But I think that, I mean, it makes sense also. I don't know exactly all the ways that they regulate it, but.
And you bring up a good point. It's that balance, right, of how do you achieve being a college kid and enjoying that, being dedicated to your sport, practicing the training and the discipline, and then on top of that, the social media obligations and the other things that come with those deals. And that's something definitely that a lot of college athletes will be navigating, since this is kind of uncharted territory. Before we go, any opportunities that you want to share with us or you want to announce since the Olympics?
I don't know if anything like in particular, really. I mean, it's a lot of stuff, I guess, for me now. I'm trying to juggle everything as best as I can, and trying to just pick the right path forward for me right now. I've had the most like hectic few months of my life ever since the Olympics, but now I'm very glad and at peace to be back here in Baton Rouge, back in Louisiana, and be able to spend some really good quality time with my family, which is much needed. It started to get very cold also, and it's starting to get cold and dark in Sweden already. It's probably going to start snowing in like a few weeks' time now. So I'm not so jealous of all my buddies and stuff back up north. But so I'm just gonna really just enjoy the next few months that I have here with family. I train here at LSU also still when I'm back in town, and just try to train, get in shape, and then just really just try to enjoy everything as best I can.
Well, Mondo Duplantis, we are glad to have you back home. You have made Louisiana so proud. So thank you for stopping by LPB and giving us an update on what's next for you.
Thanks for having me. Absolutely.